to the third video lecture on Unit 7 Diversity Management offered under the MS21 course Social Processes and Behavioral Issues. I am your instructor in this video to educate you on diversity management. At the outset, I am Dr. Shalini Garg, Professor of Human Resource Management and HR related inclusion and accessibility issues. I am currently employed as a professor in the Department of Management in Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, Delhi. Now, as you know by now, in the previous two videos, that the lecture on diversity management has to be covered in 3 half-an-hour videos, and this is the third and the last video. The first two videos educated you all about the concept of diversity, types of diversity, relevance of diversity management, discrimination and its types, and how to avoid discrimination at workplace, and also about the biographical characteristics of diversity in detail and the related statistics. Now, this third and the last video shall talk about the reasons for the growing relevance and importance of diversity and what challenges and opportunity diversity offers in the workplace. So let's begin. Now, although we have studied in the first video about two types of diversity, which were surface diversity and deep diversity, here there is one more classification that we will go through, and that is by Diana Worman in 2005 categorized the diversity elements into 3 parts. So this is another kind of a classification that you can refer to. Number 1 is social diversity, which talks about ethics, gender and age. Then there is value diversity that talks about psychological differences in personality and attitude. And the third being information diversity that talks about educational, functional tenure in the organization. Now, if you look at the previous diversity classification that we studied, that is the surface and the deep diversity, then social diversity to a large extent, in fact entirely, as well as information diversity would be finding their place under surface diversity, and value diversity would be covered under the deep diversity. Let us also understand that it is almost impossible to manage employees in a standard manner. We cannot measure them with the same scale. Therefore, people with diverse characteristics should not be molded in the organization's culture, but should rather be managed wisely so that their diversity can be exploited for the betterment to them and organization as a whole. Now, it is apt to talk about the reasons behind the growing relevance and importance of diversity in today's world, in the workplaces. So, one of the first reasons that has led to the growing importance of diversity is the very important phenomena that emerged in 1990s was globalization, and more globalization related developments have been taking place since then, reducing the boundaries between the countries and the regions and the time and space. So globalization has removed many business barriers and allowed free flow of goods and services, persons, thoughts and ideas and capital. Now, there is an ample opportunity for organizations to expand their business worldwide. The broad market has generated so many competitors with new type of customers and human resources. Thus, globalization brings diversity in business with varied knowledge and skills, age, culture, abilities and sexual orientation. So now we can have a global talent pool from which we can select our potential talent or human capital. And when we say global talent pool, then we should be open to all kinds of differences. Another very significant factor which is related to globalization as well, but not exactly related to globalization, because global migration is also happening, regional migration is also happening. So partly it is finding its place under globalization, but then you should also understand that migration is a regional concept also, which every country faces. And so is we can talk about our country, India, as well. So when we talk about migration, developed regions like North America and Western Europe experiencing low birth rate, declining ratios of workers to retirees, they, to maintain current level of economic activities, need to import immigrants to work. The complete opposite conditions are in developing countries like India and South Asian region. Increasing rate of young people willing to work because of high birth rate and improved medical condition causes difficult condition in economy to absorb each individual in economic activity. So they need to emigrate to find job for themselves and support their families. Very true, and you've been seeing this trend over a period of time. What are the migratory labor issues that a country has to face, globally, as well as you can say at the national level? We all have been, experiencing all that, and what we keep on hearing in the news items, we keep on reading in the newspapers, and we come to know what problems have been, pertaining to the migratory labor. And much of these problems were surfaced during COVID-19 pandemic, that our country experienced, and it was globally experienced, but in our country, we saw that there was no particular formal organized mechanism to be catering to, you can say, the security, job security, or the other benefits for the unorganized labor, especially who were migrating from one region to another region. So this came to a spotlight because of this pandemic. Another important development that we can see over here is in terms of women workers, as we are studying the reasons behind rise of diversity. Now, the task of family members, their task and consumption pattern has been changed since last few decades with increasing number of working women. And again, this is something that we all can observe in our own homes, locality, amongst our acquaintances, that how today's women is actively participating in the work scenario. They're even working from home, they're becoming entrepreneurs, they're starting their own startup, small startup units, and contributing into the economy. Now, professions that used to be dominated by male now have been acquired and excelled by women, no doubt about it. Talk about the top leaders of various multinational corporations, if you talk about, like Pepsi, you talk about ICICI Bank, you talk of SBI. Globally also, if you talk about the diplomats, you'll find women diplomats representing our country in a big way. New rules and procedure modification has been introduced in companies' policies after intrusion of government. Another important aspect is aging population, which we have dealt with in our previous videos as well. Now, the improved healthcare facilities causing the increase in numbers of seniors staying alive and active at work. Thus, the median working age of workforce is increasing. This is also a very well known fact, that you will find that many individuals, or that the aging population of the country is being re-employed and reabsorbed in various organizations based upon their capacity to offer their services. This also explains why the work environment is being adapted to the old aged workers, and why many processes and procedures have been modified and altered for workers in senior profile. That is why we talk about vulnerability concerns, then inclusion of aging population. What are the measures that the companies need to, or the organizations need to adopt in order to absorb such population, is an important trend. Then we talk about political diversity. Now, employees at organizations enter with different political ideas and eventually affiliations. This emerges as point and source of conflict among them, especially when they are compelled to make decisions regarding crucial national actions such as strikes, public demonstrations, and petitions. And we all have been witnessing all this in our country of late. Now comes a very big question to dwell upon, whether diversity should be looked upon as a threat or as an opportunity. As far as I am concerned, I will say that it is both a threat and an opportunity. I'll also mention that it can become a threat if proper diversity management strategies are not well in place, inclusive HR policies are not well in place, our understanding and tolerance of the existing differences are not taken care of, then obviously it is likely to become a threat. And the opposite of it is the opportunity for the organization. Now, diversity affects organizational performance, and thus it is not just a moral, social, or conscious issue. Rather, it becomes imperative for an organization to consider the same with the organization and modify or alter the organizational policies and principles as well as culture accordingly. I told you in the previous videos that diversity management is considered to be a business sense. It is adding on to the bottom lines of the organization, and hence most of the efforts are being made to move into the direction of diversity management, inclusion, and accessibility. Misunderstanding, not considering diversity may lead to destroyed relationship, lost customers, failure of policies, and decline in profitability. And I will also add loss in creativity. Because if you have varied employees coming from different generations, from different countries, from different religions, from different customs, they bring in lots of ideas, opinions, and thoughts which can be converted into the organization's creativity index and innovation index. So you will be losing upon all that if you do not value diversity. Now, diversity management means consideration, acknowledgement, and appreciation of differences as a valuable. These practices enhance the organizational performance by eliminating and preventing discrimination and promoting inclusiveness. Please also add on accessibility when you talk about inclusion, because accessibility is giving access to everybody. Everybody is able to approach your organization physically, as well as access to the information of the organization pertaining to the organization and its policies. Now, non-diversity at workplace may mean 2b, exclusion of portion of the population with risk of social gaps, fundamentalism leading to civil disturbances such as riots in French suburban areas. This may also lead to political confrontation like immigration law in Europe and USA. Why are we talking about only Western countries? You look at, diversity related, non-diversity related after effects in our own country as well. Amongst regions, in various companies, you can easily, encounter these problems. So let's come and talk about what are those diversity management practices or strategies that can be in place in order to improve diversity and inclusion at the workplace. So number one, attracting diverse employees. One best method to enhance workforce diversity is to target recruiting message to specific people from specific demographic group. That means, whenever you have to hire, you first locate for your talent pool. And that talent pool, you will locate according to your demographic specifications that you have in your mind. That is, placing recruitment advertisement for specific demographic groups such as recruitment at university, college, with significant numbers of underrepresented minorities, and developing connection or partnership with associations like the India Women Scientists Association or Tribe Welfare Association of India. So these are just few ones that have been mentioned over here. There are so many organizations, NGOs, working for the upliftment and betterment of minorities or the deprived section, whether they are disabled, whether they are, if you talk about disability, then women disabled employees or women disabled workers. You talk of various kinds of disability like autism related issues. You have many NGOs working in this direction. You have intellectual disability related NGOs working in this direction. To name a few, Saksham, Seva Trust is there, and then you have Sense International. Then you have many other organizations, which you can partner with in order to support the cause of diversity management. and also to bring benefit to your own organization. Then advertisement that depicts group of diverse employees are seen as more attractive to women and racio-ethnic minorities. This is why organizations include workforce diversity in their recruitment advertisements. Recruitment advertisement that does not depict diversity send negative message about the diversity climate of an organization. It is very, very important. That is why I said diversity management practices or diversity management policies make business sense. You are not doing diversity for the sake of charity. You are doing it to earn benefits for yourself. And one of the important benefits is improved image of the organization and becoming an employer of choice. Because today's potential employees are well versed and informed about the types of organizations, their work culture, everything. So they will have these criteria in their mind before applying for your organization. And we also talked about looking for your talent pool. So if you want to go and look out for a potential talent pool, you have to be displaying these attributes. Then selection. Selection is also an important area where diversity efforts can be applied. The manager who hire must welcome and value fairness and objectivity in selection processes and also focus on productivity capacity of new recruitment. So here one of the important mention that I would like to make is trying to eliminate and eradicate personality related biases while selecting the employees. Not only personality related biases, your own created biases in your mind, and your mindset needs to be changed completely, and you need to be as fair as possible using logical reasons for selecting them, not your personal biases and grudges. Now, where managers use a well-defined protocol for assessing applicants' talent and the organizations clearly prioritizes non-discrimination policies, qualification becomes far more important in determining who gets hired than demographic characteristics, as suggested by Buckley, Jackson, Bolino versus and Field in 2007. This is what I'm saying. If you're going to be logical in your approach and scientific in your approach, then you are not going to commit any such mistakes which contribute to discrimination of any kind, because you are using a logical criteria. Career development. Similarity in personality may affect career advancement. If personality traits of a person matches with his other co-workers are preferred for promotion over those whose personality traits does not match with other co-workers. Now this is a serious issue, as pointed out by Shobrick and SSK Lamb in 2002. So I mean, you need to be as fair and equitable and justifiable in providing career advancement opportunities to similarly treated employees or workforce based upon just one difference, and that is the performance related difference, not just the personality traits related differences. Now, where collectivistic culture is there in an organization, similarity to supervisor is more important for career development and predicting advancement, whereas in individualistic cultures, similarity to peers is more important. Deep level diversity factors are more important in shaping people's reactions to one another, surface level characteristics. Similarly, retaining employees, one very, very important agenda for the HR policies. Data shows that individuals who are more demographically different from their co-workers are more likely to feel low commitment and turnover. Women are more predominantly turnover from male workers and men are more predominantly turnover from female workers. So this kind of research statistics also need to be paid heed to. Non-whites are predominantly leave or replace job from where there are whites and vice versa, according to a study by Sui, Egan and Relly in 1992. Again, I'd just like to mention, please refer to the updated research studies as well to update your knowledge on the subject. Now, this type of behavior is more prominent among new hires as people get accustomed to each other at work. Demographic at work are less consistently related to turnover. This is quite relevant. It's an important observation that once you get accustomed to each other, then you tend to overlook and you tend to ignore and you tend to become indifferent to the demographic variables because you have adjusted with each other. More problems are faced at the time of entry level. That is why orientation program becomes really important, and orienting the workers about values of tolerance, values of patience, values of cooperation, values of support is highly important. Now, Indian study shows negative perceptions about the organization among employees from minority groups. The study revealed that women employees and those belonging to reserved categories perceived the organization they worked in to be less fair and less inclusive as compared to those who were from majority groups, as according to the study by Sia and Bharadwaj in 2009. So there's a case that has been included in the study about finance function driving the diversity agenda. So I'll just quickly, take you through this particular course, and there would be a question in the end pertaining to this particular case study. So there is a question at the end of this case. If you will just read this case, I have tried to include a question for your better understanding, but this case study, let me just mention the source of this case study. It is United States Congress Mustafa et al. Business Case of Diversity Management, the Business Case of Diversity Management 2014. So a question has been added by me over here. After reading the case, explain the reasons and needs for diversity in organizations and measure organizations can take to manage diversity. So it is just a small caselet which you can refer to and you answer it in your own way. There would be no wrong or right answers. The answers will be based upon your perception, your understanding of the concept of diversity management and how you have internalized the relevance of diversity management. And the instructor, whoever is going to take this in a classroom, needs to give you a sense of direction. If you are making some wrong observations or wrong perceptions, then he or she may guide you through. So these are some of the suggested readings, as I've been mentioning in the previous videos also, besides Robbins and Tripathi, which are some of the relevant books on the concept of organizational behavior to understand what is human behavior and what are the aspects of human behavior. So it is natural to study about organizational behavior since as humans we all are different. And if we have this basic knack of understanding the human behavior, then gradually we will become tolerant, to understanding, tolerant to understand and accept our peers and other group members coming from, different diversity groups. But I would like to mention my recently published book, S. Garg, HR Initiatives on Building Inclusive and Accessible Workplaces, Emerald Publishing Limited, published in the year 2019, which talks extensively about the HR initiatives for developing inclusive and accessible workplaces. It has a training manual attached to it for the reference. It has various management games and role play exercises also to clarify your concept about diversity management and its relevance. So instead of the term diversity, inclusion and accessibility has been used, but these are the two extended terms of diversity. And these are some of the references. Please refer to these, and please also refer to the last 5 years from today research papers for developing your understanding on the concept of diversity management. Thank you so much.